Hello, this is a book for Sophia. It's called Particle Physics Story for Sophia. It's a true story that is narrated by cats. Before we start, I have to write down Sophia's name in correct color. This is pink. We could also write it in purple. Sophia. Okay, now we can get started. Before we begin the story, I have to introduce to you the cast of characters. The first one is Sophie the physicist. Here is Sophie the physicist. The other one is Diana. She is behind the scenes, as you can see. You can't see her face. And of course, the curious kittens. The curious kittens want to know everything. But more importantly, it's Toby. Toby is the main narrator. Notice that Toby is jet black, so at times it's hard to see him. So you have to really look for him. Again, we start the story by some introduction. We said Sophie the physicist. The question is, what is a physicist? The story is called particle physics. So what is particle physics? And more importantly, where did the kittens come from? Okay, so let's start with describing what a physicist does, which is physics. But physics is a branch part of science. Science is made out of four somewhat different types, although they're connected. One part is called chemistry. Another part is called biology. This is biology. Geology, and of course physics. So what is chemistry? Chemistry is kind of like the science of cooking. How do things cook? How do they interact? For example, if you put some potatoes in water and heat it up, what do you get? Cooked potatoes. Another way of thinking of chemistry is how different substances interact with each other. For example, if you take a glass of water and put some sugar in it and stir it, the sugar dissolves. You can't see it anymore. But if you take sand and put it in water and keep stirring it, you still see sand. Or if you put rice in water and stir it, you still see rice. Until, of course, if you cook it and cook it to a mesh. Biology is the science of living things. It's a science of flowers, cats, trees, anything that lives, anything that can reproduce itself. We call it biology. There are people who study geology. That's the science of objects which stay pretty much intact, like mountains, like lakes, and of course rocks. And then physics. Physics is really all of this together. In a sense, it deals with how things interact with each other and what things are made of. So how everything works is a science of physics. What are things made of? So a physicist is a person who tries to figure out how everything works. Now, what is particle physics? Well, that's a main topic of this video book, so it has to wait until Toby tells us what it is. The next part is, where did the kittens come from? The kittens came from Barbara's shed. Here they are, tiny little things, and you see the tire of the tractor in the shed. So we went and brought the kittens home, and here they are now, a picture of the kittens at our home. This is when they were really tiny. They were eating. So I introduced them to you. The first one is Paola. Paola is an orange kitty, and she has a very long and beautiful fuzzy tail, so we call her Foxy Tail, sometimes Foxy Lady. Shireen is champagne color, and she really has a crooked tail, but it's called a wry tail, and she likes to just spread on her back, and so we give her the name Coco Chanel. And finally, the third one is the white one is Richard. Richard loves to jump on your shoulder, so his nickname is Shoulder Cat. Okay, now we can start the story. It was one summer afternoon that I came home, Sophie came home, and went to the porch and saw all the kittens sitting together. There they are. And all of a sudden, Toby said, I read Sophie's book today. And Anna said, I've read lots of his books. Which one did you read? And Shireen said, oh, I saw Toby was reading a book on particle physics. That's when Richard said, what is particle physics? And Toby said, okay, children, sit down, I'll tell you. When they all sat down, he said, all things are made out of atoms, of course, except for things like light and other non-matter stuff. And Richard said, Anna, does he mean even you and I are made out of atoms? And Anna said, yes, of course, you silly boy. Shireen turned around and said, I am too cute to be just made out of atoms. I'm made out of sugar, mostly sugar. Anna then said, oh, come on, don't be silly. What is an atom, Toby? And Toby said, atoms are like Lego blocks. You can put them together to make different stuff. That's when Shireen said, and what are atoms made of? Toby said, children, atoms are made out of protons, neutrons, electrons. See? Here is a picture of an atom. You see this mostly blue stuff and two blue dots. Those blue dots are moving all around in this blue cloud. These are electrons. The greenish ones are neutrons. And the orangish one is a proton. So as you can see, for example, here, the atom of helium is made out of 2 electrons, 2 protons, 2 neutrons. Different atoms are made out of different number of protons and number of electrons and number of neutrons. Now let's take a look at the details. If you blow up that orange part, you see the proton with details. So this is proton. The same when you see neutron. And when you look closer to them, you see that they're made out of different pieces. This is called an up quark. And these are down quark. So a proton is made out of 2 up quarks and 1 down quark. Neutron is made out of 2 down quarks and 1 up quark. If you take a look at that blue cloud, you see that in fact there is some particle, blue particle inside of it. This is the electron. The electron is not made out of anything else. It's fundamental. In fact, I can't write fundamental. If you look at quarks, you see that they also are fundamental. So this is an up quark, which is a fundamental, and a down quark, which is fundamental. And they're connected always by a gluon, which is a boson. In fact, it turns out that all things are made out of leptons and quarks. There are 6 leptons and there are 6 quarks. They're bound together by bosons. Bosons. So as we saw, a proton is made out of 2 up quarks and 1 down quark. A neutron is made out of 2 down quarks and 1 up quark. The quarks are fundamental. The leptons are also fundamental. Electron is a lepton. What other leptons? There is a tau lepton, a mu lepton, and of course the electron. And they each have their own type of neutrino particle. So that's tau neutrino, mu neutrino, and electron neutrino. That's all that we need. And what a particle physicist does, what particle physics do, is to show you how to combine these set of particles to build everything. This is called the Standard Model. That's when Shiree, Anna, Paola, and Richard started asking more questions, and Toby said, oh well, that has to wait for another lesson. Okay?